Crusaders of Might and Magic is a third-person action role-playing video game developed and published by 3DO in 1999. There are two different versions of the game, one that was released for the PC and one that was for the PlayStation. The game takes place on Arden, one of the worlds in the Might and Magic universe. The protagonist of the story is Drake, the only survivor of a brutal massacre on his village while he was still a young boy. Due to this horrific event, he swears vengeance against the legions of the undead and their terrible leader, Necros. You, as the main man and local badass of the land, are on a hero's journey throughout the story, escaping prison with the help of the Crusaders and joining their ranks, helping out the Dwarven kingdom of Corantha, crushing the rebellion of the treacherous Ironpick clan, exposing the king's brother as an agent of the Legion, defeating the deceased father of the Dwarven monarch who was recently raised through necromancy, clearing up the grub-infested tunnels below the forest, thus destroying the supply lines of the Legion, then going back to the stronghold of the Crusade and finding it under attack by the bad guys, coming face to face with the main antagonist and target of your unending revenge plot, only to discover that he was summoning futuristic interdimensional beings through a portal to help with his conquest, eventually learning that the Empress was working with the bad guy all along. The game sets up the sequel perfectly, with Drake becoming the Lord Archon of the Citadel and leader of the Crusaders at the end, thus finishing his hero's journey where in a decisive crisis wins a victory and ends up changed, a better man. But in my version, the PC version, none of this happens. The whole story given to you with the PlayStation version is completely missing from my version. For me, the game starts out in a dungeon, you run around killing lowly skeletons until you get to the Citadel, from where you're sent on this journey of nothing. Sure, you still travel to the dwarves of Corantha, where you're sent into the mines to crush a rebellion, which is like 3 dwarves who run around like they were in high heels and then they die to one hit. Then you're sent on a fool's errand to the glaciers, where you get a weird spaceship area which is not available to the PlayStation version, where you fight some weird undead robot hybrids. You're treated to a short trip to the Ewok village for like a minute or so the game feels a bit longer, but it adds nothing to the narrative at all. The end of the game is devoid of a big battle between the forces of good and the evil, the Crusaders and the Legion. There is none of that. You somehow end up on a bad guy's spaceship, where you kill him after drinking 3 potions or less in about 5 auto attacks. The big twists with the interdimensional futuristic demons wanting to invade the world, the Empress working with the Legion, and Drake becoming the Lord Archon are all missing from the PC version, and you get this weird ending that may or may not want to set up the sequel for the game.
We knew you'd prevailed, for the skies cleared at once, and the Legion fled back into their tunnels. They collapsed the rock behind them to block our pursuit. Still, I don't think we'll see them anytime soon, thanks to you. So, with Celestia somewhere in seclusion and the old guard without a captain, there is to my mind only one man who can rebuild the Crusade.
I gotta tell you, I don't know what kind of leader you see in a scrapper like me. But truth is, I could use a place to hang my sword, and I'm sort of getting used to this flying hunk of rock. Plus, I kind of think the old guard needs some new blood.
Ha!
I was around 10 years old when I first played this game, so the nostalgia factor could make me play it whenever. Growing up, it was my brother's favorite, so mid-2018 I bought the game on GOG.com to surprise him with it. Even though he hasn't touched it since then, I decided that I will make something of it. I started streaming in November 2018, and I chose this game to be the first one of many to be included in my never-ending list of games. I squeezed about 12 hours of juice out of the game, and I enjoyed every second of it. There are some wonky mechanics and garbage platforming sections in the game where it doesn't belong, but as the old saying goes with older games, F it, we need to have one platforming section and one stealth level even if it is not relevant. It is important to mention that I always strive to play games on the hardest difficulty possible, since I'm not a scrub and I feel like I'm too much of an edgelord to be a dirty casual, so take this into consideration about the difficulty of combat. As the title may suggest, this game has both might and magic in it, but both are so lackluster that it is very hard to say any positives about it. The melee combat system is very basic from the first second of the game until the very last. You see an enemy approaching, so you run towards him, press attack, and with a single overhead smash, you are done. This is true to both early and end game. Sometimes you get into a situation where you have to hold your shield up and strike when the enemy has already hit you once. Around mid-game you come upon a weapon called the boomerang, which, as you may suspect from the name, is an axe that works like a boomerang. It may be familiar if you have seen or played the 2018 God of War game, since it is essentially just Kratos' Leviathan axe. Crusaders of Might and Magic did it first, and based on what I'm asked, it is either the best or the worst weapon in the game.
Why is this axe so shit? Why is this axe so good?
For the sorcery part of the game, there is a huge positive to be mentioned, the Spectral Ally spell. It has given me countless minutes of laughter, joy, and the mascot of my channel, Bob. As the name of the spell may suggest, you summon a spectral ally to aid you in battle, who wrecks everyone in the battlefield while you stand back and throw your boomerangs to the general direction of your enemies. There are other spells in the game, of course, but this is the only one worth mentioning, since it was the only one that gave me the most. The rest are basics like a light, a lightning bolt, or a stone skin, for example. As I've mentioned before, in the PC version, my version, the story is very linear and boring. It is both edgy and cheesy at the same time, with some cringeworthy dialogue and encounters. The voice acting is especially horrendous throughout the game and feels like every other NPC's lines were recorded with only phones at home and then just sent in via email.
My livestock has been disappearing in the night. Celestia needs to send more protection to us.
There is no hope! I have seen that the Crusaders are brave and strong, but the evil tide that grows is much larger and fearsome.
Dare to find your destiny. Glory can be had with the right combination of smarts and strength.
Not only does the game not hold your hand as some modern games do, but it also doesn't help you advance with tips or notifications that you've done the deed needed. The not so subtle transitions between areas are truly terrible, especially when you start to realize that about 70% of the game is just a running simulator in big empty spaces. But even with all these negatives I have listed above, I love this game to death. The biggest question, of course, if it is still worth to play this forgotten gem of another era. Well, to that my answer is a clear and resounding hell no. The game is a perfect example of a game where you need to have the nostalgia for it. As I have mentioned, I was around 10, my brother 12, and we just went back to this game over and over again on our first shitty computer so we could hack and slash through a seemingly endless wave of skeletons. My brother even named all his characters in every game he played there after Drake because we were so in love with this. But to anyone else wanting to pick up a retro game, maybe seeing that it has the off Might and Magic tag on it, well, just skip it. It is boring, frustrating, and without the rose-tinted glass of nostalgia, you will just feel like you've been robbed of your time and money you spent on this. I really cannot speak for the PlayStation version, since the PC version was and still is the only version I have ever played. But if you would still want to jump into the game nonetheless, please do so. It is very important to remember that one man's trash is another man's treasure, and it is 100% true for me with this game, and it may just turn out to be for you as well. Also, the hero is voiced by Kevin Conroy, who played Batman for a long time, so at least it has that going for it. So, thank you for watching. If you enjoyed it, don't forget to like the video and subscribe. I will try to make sure to upload more in the future. Check the links in the description to guide you to me playing through these games live. Be there when the magic happens. But until then, have the rest of your day.
Country Bob, help me out. Don't let him kill me now. I love you, Bob. Kill the bastard. Help me out, you lovely Bob. No! He's even hitting his corpse. He's dead. Just leave him. Fight me. Please. What the f was that? For real.